Hi, my name is Emily, and I want to share my story about learning English. I used to struggle with English. It felt like a mountain too high to climb. But slowly, with small steps, I started to see a change. Let me tell you how I did it, and how you can, too. When I was little, I would sit in my room and cry because I didn't understand English. My friend Jessica once told me, "Emily, start with one word a day." That was my first tip. Just one word each day. It doesn't have to be big. I started with apple. Jessica said, "Learn like a baby learns to walk, one step at a time." I remember standing in front of the mirror, saying apple over and over. My mom heard me and smiled. She said, "Small things grow." Her words stayed with me. Every day, I would learn a new word. Slowly, my vocabulary grew. The second tip I learned was to listen to English everywhere. I would watch cartoons like Dora the Explorer. It made me smile because even Dora made learning fun. One day, I understood a whole sentence. I ran to my mom and said, "Mom, I understood." She hugged me tight. That was one of my happiest moments. Listening is powerful. My dad told me once, "You have two ears. Use them." So I started listening to English songs. At first, I didn't understand the words, but the music felt beautiful. I would hum along, and one day, the words made sense. Songs can teach you English without you even trying. Another important thing I learned was to read out loud. My teacher, Mrs. Carter, told me, "Your voice is your teacher." I didn't understand what she meant at first. But then, I started reading books like The Cat in the Hat. I would read every word out loud. It felt silly, but soon I began to feel more comfortable speaking in English. Tip number 3, read to yourself. One night, I was reading a story to my little sister, Sophie. She looked at me with her big eyes and said, "Emily, you sound so good." I felt so proud in that moment. English was no longer scary. It was my friend. Tip 4, find a friend to speak English with. I found that friend in Jessica. We made a deal to speak only in English during lunch breaks. It was hard at first, but we laughed at our mistakes and helped each other. Mistakes are how we grow, Jessica would say. And she was right. Every mistake made me stronger. When I started writing in English, it was even harder. I remember writing my first sentence, "I love my dog." It was simple, but it was mine. Mrs. Carter told me, "Write from your heart, not your head." That was tip 5. Write what you feel. Writing was tough, but it got easier with time. I started writing in a journal every night before bed. I would write about my day, my feelings, and my dreams. Writing became my escape, a place where English felt safe. Tip 6, practice every day, even if it's just for 10 minutes. One day, I saw a quote that changed everything for me. Rome wasn't built in a day. Learning English takes time, but every small effort matters. I kept a notebook of words I didn't know. Every night I would look up the meanings. My notebook became my treasure. Tip 7. Don't be afraid to ask for help. There were times when I felt stuck. I would ask my teachers, my friends, and even strangers if I didn't know a word. People are kind when you ask for help. One day I was in a store and didn't know how to ask for something. I felt like crying, but I gathered my courage and asked, "Can you help me?" The lady smiled and helped me. I felt so strong in that moment. Tip 8. Make English a part of your life. I started labeling things in my room. My bed had a label, my lamp, my books. Every time I looked at them, I would say the word in English. It made learning fun. My room became my English classroom. One winter day, I was walking home from school when I saw a girl crying. She looked lost. I asked her, "Are you okay?" She didn't speak much English, but I understood her fear. I used the little English I knew to comfort her. That day, I realized how powerful language is. It helps us connect, understand, and care for each other. Tip 9. Use English in real-life situations. Don't just study from books. I started using English at the grocery store, on the bus, and even with my neighbors. Every conversation was a lesson. Tip 10. Celebrate your progress. Every time I learned a new word or phrase, I would reward myself with a small treat, like chocolate. It made learning sweet. As I got better, I wanted more. So, I started reading harder books. That's tip 11. Challenge yourself. I moved from The Cat in the Hat to Charlotte's Web. I didn't understand every word, but I didn't give up. My mom always told me, if it doesn't challenge you, it won't change you. Tip 12. Surround yourself with English. I changed my phone's language to English, followed English-speaking influencers, and even set my calendar in English. It was everywhere, and slowly English became part of who I was. My favorite tip, tip 13, is this: be patient. There were days when I felt like giving up. But I remembered what my dad always said: the darkest hour is just before the dawn, and he was right. Every time I wanted to quit, I reminded myself of how far I had come. Tip 14. Find a mentor. Mrs. Carter became my mentor. She would give me small tasks, like writing a short story or having a conversation in English. She always believed in me, even when I didn't believe in myself. Tip 15. Learn from your mistakes. I once said she is happy when I meant he is happy. Everyone laughed. But instead of feeling bad, I laughed too. It's okay to make mistakes. They are part of the journey. Tip 16. Use technology to help you. I started using language apps like Duolingo. It was like playing a game. Every time I leveled up, it felt like I had won a prize. Learning became fun. Tip 17. Join English groups online. I found an English learners group on Facebook. People from all over the world were learning together. It was inspiring to see others just like me, struggling but trying. Tip 18. Record yourself speaking. One day, I recorded myself talking about my day. When I played it back, I was shocked. My English sounded so much better than I thought. That's when I realized that I was improving every day, even when I didn't notice. Tip 19. Watch English movies with subtitles. I started watching movies like Frozen with English subtitles. It helped me connect the words to the sounds. My favorite part was singing along to the songs. Tip 20. Don't rush. Learning English is a journey, not a race. I used to think I had to learn fast, but I realized that slow progress is still progress. Tip 21. Make learning fun. I started playing word games with my sister. We would compete to see who could guess the most English words. It made learning feel like a game. Tip 22. Learn English expressions. My teacher once said, English is more than just words. It's about expressions. I learned phrases like it's raining cats and dogs and break a leg. They made me smile and feel more connected to the language. Tip 23. Learn grammar, but don't stress over it. I used to be scared of English grammar. But then Mrs. Carter told me, grammar is like a friend. The more you understand it, the easier it becomes. So, I started learning one grammar rule a week. Slowly, it became less scary. Tip 24. Practice speaking every day. Whether it was to myself, my family, or even the mirror, I made sure to speak English every day. Speaking out loud builds confidence. Tip 25. Read everything. From street signs to menus, I made it a habit to read everything in English. Each word was a new opportunity to learn. Tip 26. Think in English. My dad told me, when you think in English, you live in English. It took time, but slowly, I started thinking about simple things in English, like what I wanted for breakfast or where I was going. Tip 27. Set small goals. At first, my goal was to learn 5 words a week. Then, it became 10 words. Setting small goals made learning less overwhelming. Tip 28. Be curious. I would always ask, what does this word mean, or how do I say this in English? Curiosity is your best friend when learning a new language. Tip 29. Practice with children's books. They are simple, and the pictures help you understand the story. My sister and I would read picture books together. It was fun and easy to understand. Tip 30. Keep a positive attitude. Learning a language can be tough, but with a positive mindset, anything is possible. My mom always said, "Where there is hope, there is a way." Tip 31. Stay motivated. Every time I felt like quitting, I would remind myself of my dream to speak English fluently. Dreams keep us moving forward. Tip 32. Create an English environment. I filled my world with English. From books to music, it was everywhere. The more I was surrounded by it, the more natural it felt. Tip 33. Use English to express your feelings. When I was sad or happy, I would write about it in English. It made me feel more connected to the language and myself. Tip 34. Remember that it's okay to feel frustrated. There were days when I cried because English felt too hard. But my mom told me tears are just proof that you're trying. It's okay to feel overwhelmed. It means you care. Tip 35. Never give up. The most important thing I learned is to never stop trying. English isn't easy, but with persistence, you will get there. Learning English changed my life. It helped me connect with new people, understand different cultures, and express myself in ways I never thought possible. So, don't give up. Keep going. As my dad always says, the only way to fail is to stop trying. I hope my story inspires you to keep learning, keep pushing, and keep believing in yourself. English is more than just a language. It's a door to a whole new world. Wouldn't you agree? Feel free to share your own tips or ask me anything. I'm always here to help you on your English journey.